Sampling takes up the question of how do you get the subjects or the units of study. Suppose I want to know if watching screencasts ahead of time will improve student test scores. Can I just take volunteers? The best sampling is random. It excludes confounding variables, like student motivation. If I just take volunteers, the most motivated students will do it, and they'll do well on the test. So there's lots of different ways of sampling. We'll talk about a few of them: simple random sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, and multi-stage sampling. So in a simple random sample, every group of the desired sample size is equally likely to be chosen. It's equivalent to putting the names or IDs of all possible subjects into a great big box and drawing them out until we get the desired sample size. That's sort of great when we can do it, and it often makes sense. Stratified sampling breaks the population of interest into different groups, into strata, in ways that make sense for the study. So for many different kinds of opinion polling, it might be important to be sure that people of diverse races or ages or religions are included in the study. So you would break them into those groups and then sample from each group. Take a simple random sample from each group, for example. In systematic sampling, well, maybe for quality control on a factory floor, you just sample every 1,000th product coming off the assembly line to test it, to see if it's okay. So no particular reason to need to simple random sample for something like that. Just take every 1,000th or 100th or whatever makes most sense. Cluster sampling is when the population is naturally divided up into groups, each of which more or less represents the whole. And you randomly choose some of your clusters to be part of your study, and then you sample from each cluster. So, for example, if we were interested in the resident student population at Edgewood to gather opinion about the food services, we might choose a random sample of resident hall floors and then survey every one of those floors. Simple random sample of all the resident students would be harder because they live all over campus, but we just go into a few places. Or maybe we sample, if we're interested in sampling the undergraduate population, we might randomly choose a few classes and then sample and then survey everybody in those classes. Just makes it convenient, and your clusters um, just represent the population as a whole in a natural way. And finally, in multi-stage sampling, you combine some of the previous methods. You divide the student population into strata, maybe first years, second years, etc. And then within each group, you do systematic sampling, or you stratify by major. So you combine some of those previous sampling methods. And that's the end.